Sir Jim, we are delighted to say officially welcome to the Manchester United family.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You said in your recent statement that the transaction is completed, but this is just the beginning of your journey as co-owner of the club. So tell me how it feels.
Oh, I mean, it feels wonderful, obviously. You sort of have to pinch yourself a little bit. It's not something I could never have contemplated when I was younger, obviously. So it is a bit of a boyhood dream, I suppose, that they're not supposed to come true, but in this case, obviously, it did. But yeah, it's a sort of very proud moment, and I'm very honoured to be able to help take United forward.
Tell us how you got to this moment then. Obviously, we know lots happened since Christmas Eve, but how do we actually get to this moment before that?
Well, I've obviously, as you do really in football, you choose your football side when you're very young and you stick with it for life, really. So, when I was at school in Manchester, I suppose, I don't know how old, 6 or 7 or something like that. I was at primary school in Failsworth, and half the class wore pale blue and half the class wore red. But my family were red, so, and that's where I've been all my life, really. So I've always been a passionate supporter of Manchester United, more recently in my life we've got involved in sport. Obviously, we have a collection of quite interesting sports positions in Formula One and cycling and a couple of football clubs, as you know, the America's Cup. But we always had our eye on a Premier League football club, to complete that sort of collection of sporting assets that we wanted to look at managing as a group and looking for benefits and synergies from running a group of sort of sports enterprises. One day the Manchester United opportunity came on the horizon, and I suppose the rest is history, really. But it was a long, effectively we had to play the long game. It was a complicated transaction. It took obviously well over a year, and it required a fair degree of patience, which I wouldn't say is one of my finest attributes, really. So that was quite difficult, but good things never come easy, and eventually we got over the finishing line. So.
Can you describe your vision for the club on and off the pitch?
Well, on the pitch is really simple. I think the only interest we have is in winning football matches and competing for the Premier League and competing for the Champions League. So that's our only interest in being involved in Manchester United. That is what Manchester United is about. It's, maybe I'm slightly biased, but I think it's the biggest and the greatest and the most well-known football club in the world. So it should always be competing for, the league title and the Champions League title, always. So that's how we have to measure ourselves in terms of what our expectations off the pitch, if you like. That's just about values, I think. And, Manchester United does stand for certain values. It's got a style of football. It's got, a code of values by which it, people have to respect. So, we would expect people to do that.
What can people and fans expect from the equity injection then? I know there's been lots of talk about Old Trafford, for example. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
If you look at our role at Manchester United, there are two key issues that we have to address. One is the football, which is performance on the field, really, which is always going to be our priority with Manchester United. But the second big issue, really, in the club, which a lot of people talk about and are conscious of, is where the stadium sits today. The stadium, it's an impressive stadium, and it's the largest Premier League stadium in the country, second largest stadium in the country to Wembley, I suppose. But it's not quite of the standard you would expect of Manchester United today, and it's fallen behind. Maybe 20 years ago it was, but today it's fallen behind. So we do need to look at the way forward for the stadium, the redevelopment of that stadium. There are clearly, 2 roads we could take. We could refurbish the existing stadium, or we could look at building a new stadium, and that's what we're looking at the moment.
And what about Carrington Training Complex? Has that been in your mind as well? Yeah,
but I think it's secondary to Old Trafford. Carrington is fairly impressive, I think. I quite like Carrington as a facility. I think there are things that we can do to improve it, but I don't think they're of the magnitude that the stadium requires.
Mm-hmm. You've obviously spent time at Carrington. You've spent lots of time at Old Trafford recently. What's it been like for you as a fan and now a co-owner?
Well, it's obviously fascinating to step inside the doors, but we've been very welcomed by people. People have, it's a sort of Manchester, sort of Lancastrian trait, isn't it, that you're welcome, people are friendly and chatty. So, I would have expected that anyway, I suppose. But no, it's been, it's been an interesting journey so far.
And you've spent time with Sir Alex Ferguson, of course.
Yeah.
I actually was listening to an old interview that you had done a couple of years ago when you were asked for your 3 dream dinner guests. And you did actually say Sir Alex Ferguson, but you had actually mentioned him, or met him, once before. But he was on your dream dinner list.
Yes, I'm trying
and
to
look where we are now.
I'm trying to remember. I think it was either Nelson or Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
One of those two. I know it had Nelson
Winston
in it.
Churchill.
Yeah, I've met Sir Alex 2 or 3 times since Christmas, and I knew him a little bit anyway. He's the world's iconic coach, and he's just an essential part of that Manchester United history. I mean, he has made history for Manchester United in those 27 years he was there, really, and he was the greatest manager of his generation.
In terms of immersing yourself into the club and meeting Sir Alex Ferguson, that's what it's all about, isn't it? And as I said, you've been attending matches. What have you thought of the atmosphere at Old Trafford recently?
Oh, I think, since we signed on Christmas Eve, it's, the team, I think, has played really, really well. They've been really committed. They've played very cohesively, really, as a team. They were a bit sporadic. I'd absolutely take my hat off to them since Christmas. They played really well.
And I know you've met many of the staff members as well. And although this club is a huge commercial power, is this investment for you more about heart than money?
Yeah, I'm not interested in the financial aspects of this investment at all, really, because I make enough money in chemicals and oil and gas. Really, I don't. This is not a financial investment. It's because I'm interested in seeing Manchester United being successful again. It hasn't been successful the last 11 years, but it needs to get back to where it should be, which is at the top of the game.
How important are the fans for the success of the team? You've been a fan. You've seen they can often be the 12th man on that pitch on occasions like that.
That's what the club's all about, is the fans, really. I've always said that, we don't own the club. These shareholders, myself and the Glazer family, we don't own the club. The true owners of the club are the fans, the community. And we're merely guardians or stewards for a period of time of the club. We don't own the club. The club is a community asset. And so it's all about the fans, really. And what the fans want, because it's really, really important to, those people who live in Manchester and go to the game every week, is they want to see the team winning, because that's so enjoyable for everybody. And, and we recognise that. So, no, it's all about the fans.
I'm sure travelling up to Old Trafford brings out that little boy inside of you, going to a match day. You can go to matches anywhere in London or around the world, but making that trip to Old Trafford, going through posher turnstiles.
Yes. Yeah, when I used to stand on the Stretford end in those days when they were all standing, it brings back the memories, really. But there's nothing like going to Old Trafford.
Yeah, it's incredible. And finally, this is your first opportunity to publicly address the fans. What would your message be to them?
Well, so the message to the fans, I think, absolutely our priority with Manchester United is performance on the pitch. So we want Manchester United to be challenging for the Premier League, challenging for the Champions League. That's what Manchester United is about. It's the greatest club in the world, so it should be playing the greatest football in the world. But it's not a light switch. We can't just switch a switch and all of a sudden United are going to be playing football at the level of Real Madrid, because they haven't been for the last 11 years. That takes time and it takes a bit of patience. The important thing is, I think, that we all observe the trajectory of Manchester United over the next 2 or 3 seasons, and the trajectory has to be in a good direction. So I think that's how I think we should be measured. People, I would ask for a bit of patience, but ultimately, you know, the performance of the club does sit on our shoulders, my shoulders particularly, but also, you know, Dave Brailsford, who's going to be intimately involved, and the rest of the people at the club, obviously. And, you know, we need to take the rough with the smooth. So if we're successful, that's fine. I think it would be nice to get a pat on the back for that. But if we're not successful, then it's on our shoulders. So we fully accept that responsibility, and we'll be, you know, we're going to be very, very focused on doing all the things that we can, as well as we can, to, you know, turn Manchester United into a winning side again. That's why we're here.